For how the Democrats feel about the impending shutdown, I'd like to bring in Democratic Congresswoman Ayanna Pressley from the great Commonwealth of Massachusetts. Congresswoman, Speaker McCarthy has been dodging questions on whether or not he would turn to Democrats to try to gain enough support to pass his own continuing resolution. Do you see a scenario in which House Democrats would work with McCarthy on this to try to keep the government open?
You know, it's shameful, Jake, that we're in this position at all. We began the 118th Congress with chaos. We are still in chaos. McCarthy cannot get his conference together, nor can he advance his harmful and unpopular agenda. To date, what do we have here? A baseless impeachment, a march towards a nationwide ban on abortion, banning books, completely out of step with the American people. The Democrats are ready. We've been ready. We are united, and we're focused on the people. We're ready to keep the government open and to maintain essential services.
Congressman Gaetz of Florida says if McCarthy does turn to Democrats for support on a funding bill, he would introduce a motion to vacate the speakership. And we heard from Congressman Pfluger that he thinks other Republicans would join Gaetz in that if McCarthy tries to cut a deal with Democrats. If that were to happen, whom would you vote for Speaker?
Jake, right now, the speaker that I listen to are the constituents in the Massachusetts 7th Congressional District who stand to be deeply harmed by a shutdown, which it does appear that one is imminent, and it will be deeply consequential. We're talking about Social Security and Medicare being compromised. We're talking about food being taken out of the mouths of women and children. In my district, as much as 125,000 families could be impacted. We're talking about 7,000 federal government and contract workers in my district. We're talking about states not getting critical disaster relief funds. So that's who I'm answering to. That's why I remain ready and continue to center the people. I hope that we will not be in a shutdown. If we are in a shutdown, please know that we are in a shutdown because of the Republicans. The Democrats have been at the table and been ready.
Yeah, but you might actually be given an opportunity where you get to vote for keeping Speaker McCarthy as leader, or there would be there would be chaos. You might be asked to vote for Jim Jordan. I mean, it might actually be one of these scenarios. Would you?
Time to vote. Yeah, I'll make a decision when it's time to vote, but it is shameful that we are in this position at all. And it's more of the same with the Republican majority, just chaos. And I would argue cluelessness about what the American people really need and want us to be focused on, which is governance and keeping the government open and providing these essential services.
So Republicans' biggest criticism of the bipartisan Senate spending bill, this compromise that's being worked over on the other side of Capitol Hill, is that it does not contain additional funding for border security. Right now, the U.S. is facing a crisis at the border, and this historic wave of Venezuelan migrants crossing into the U.S. The U.S. cannot deport most of them, or any of them really, because of the frosty diplomatic relations with Venezuela. More than 7.7 million people have fled Venezuela. There's no sign this is slowing down. Do you agree that something needs to be done about our border, that it's just not sustainable? I mean, we see, these governors, and I'm sure you disapprove of the tactic, but they're sending migrants into places like Massachusetts, like New York, like California, and these cities are having trouble keeping up. The Republican governors say things like, we're just giving you a taste of what we have to deal with.
Well, I certainly disagree with any people, and certainly our most vulnerable who are fleeing great destabilization and violence and corruption from being used as political pawns. No doubt about it, our border is secure, and we're in the midst of a humanitarian crisis, and we have to fix a broken system.
Wait,
and
you think it is secure? You think the border is secure, or it is not secure?
I believe that we are in the midst of a humanitarian crisis, and there needs to be federal investment to support those migrant families. And I work with a number of those community-based organizations on the ground, and they need more support. They need more federal support. This is a humanitarian crisis, and it's the consequence of a number of longstanding broken policies that are very consequential for asylum seekers, TPS holders, and DACA recipients writ large. But that is a conversation for another day.
Sure, I don't disagree with this being a humanitarian crisis at all. But just to get some clarity on this, and sure, that's a conversation for another day. But do you think that the border is secure? Is that what you said?
Yes, the border is secure. And we're in the midst of a humanitarian crisis that has been created by a broken system. And in the meantime, we need federal investment to support my constituents and those who call the MA 7th home writ large, which is why we need to prevent a government shutdown. I want to center the humanity, the dignity, the safety, and the needs of everyone, which is why we should not have a government shutdown. It will be deeply consequential. It will create a dire situation for families, many that are already struggling.
But if you have millions of undocumented migrants coming into the country, how is the border secure?
Jake, this is not a new crisis. It does require more political will and commitment. It is a humanitarian crisis. We should treat it as such. And again, representing one of the most diverse constituencies in the country. And in fact, I chair the House Haiti Caucus. I represent the third largest Haitian diaspora in the country. And what I see on the ground is community-based organizations and municipalities who need federal support.
I'm not disagreeing with anything you're saying, except for the idea that the border is secure. I mean, if you have people crossing the border, it's just by definition not secure. If you have people coming to the United States, in fact, I mean, one of the arguments being made, and I think it's an argument worth considering, is that because our border is so porous, millions of people make this very unsafe journey. Millions of people give money to people who prey on them, coyotes, and take them on these journeys to cross into the United States, preying on them, vulnerable people. And that's because the border is not secure. Because it is not secure, they go on this journey. And one of the arguments that is made, and maybe you disagree with it, is that the border should be secure so as to discourage people from making this journey. So that if people want to try to come to the United States and declare asylum and seek asylum, they go through the proper corridors and not just try to cross illegally. But it just seems like just such a refusal to acknowledge reality, just to say that the border is secure when we all know millions of people are crossing the border illegally every year.
Jake, and that is a consequence of a number of things. We have climate refugees, people that have been disabled in regions that are destabilized by extreme weather events.
Sure.
We have people that are violence and corruption.
Yep.
And so we just have to acknowledge why someone would leave their native country and their family and risk so much. It is
100%.
because they are in pain. And asylum is a human right. And so we must do better and more by TPS holders, by DACA recipients and asylum seekers. And we must do more and better by those who already call this country home, who stand to really struggle if there is a Republican government shutdown that could have been avoided if the Republicans knew how to govern. But instead, they lead from a place of contempt, callousness, and cluelessness, and they continue to play to the most extreme parts of their base, political gamesmanship, playing with people's lives. And I'm not here for it. And that is also why, given how many people are struggling, I'm calling on the to not resume student loan payments October 1st if we are in a government shutdown.
Okay. It sounds like in there you acknowledged that there are millions of people crossing the border illegally, which would mean that the border is not secure. But I mean, I don't disagree with any of the points you made about these people are trying to seek better lives and they're escaping all sorts of horrible things. But would you grant me the point that the border is not secure?
Jake, that is a conversation for another day. Right now, I'm squarely focused on preventing a government shutdown, and if there is one, mitigating the harm.
All right, Democratic Congresswoman Ayanna Pressley of Massachusetts, thanks so much.